Good.
Right. All right. Ivan gave me a call, so there's some concerns about 2 and 51.
7 and 59.
He was telling me 2 and 51.
It's
Originally
the
it was
north
7
one.
and 59. Yeah,
That's the north one.
That's 2 and 51.
Okay, we have our
It
numbers.
is, okay, yep. All right. 2 and 51 is the one that runs out of Albright's.
That's the one.
And then,
Well, they have both.
yeah, the further north one, just south of New 20.
Yeah. We had some discussion about this and obviously some confusion. When we did that dig, we had the conversation about waiting until they determined whether they were going to do private or the group was going to do something. Within 25 to 30 days, they came in with the petition. Mm-hmm. We moved that petition forward. We had the phone call with Calhoun County.
Okay.
And that's all in the minutes, and we're not understanding.
I believe Ivan spoke with either the board here, the board in Calhoun, or Alan Albright's about running this private line. And that's what I got from conversation with him this morning. But his big concern was even running a private line, taking water out of that wetlands would be the problem. You can't take any water off of that tile system, even if it's running a private line out of the wetlands. And from what I understood talking with him, he thought the wetlands, there needed to be a wetlands determination on the whole thing prior to moving forward. So talking with Alan, they wanted to do that first word of mouth before they took the next step forward.
Well, but once they submitted the petition here, the process starts. There really isn't any.
No, what was the date on that petition?
The first one was first contact was the 14th, like the mid-April, and then our phone conference with Calhoun County was mid-May. We have minutes for both of those.
Okay, yeah, but is the minutes, because I have a drainage petition signed, but no date on it. And then we have the tile investigation dated in May 25. Now, are we confusing just a request for tile investigation different than the actual petition, or not?
Renee needs to be here.
Yeah, she's in court.
We had, I was with you when we did the tile investigation.
Yeah.
We had the conversation about them needing to determine what they wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Mr. Albright had the meeting with his neighbors, and they all signed to come in and did the petition for the improvement.
Okay.
And then we knew we had to have the joint phone conference with Calhoun County
to see if it needed to go forward.
To direct you guys to do. And our contact with you guys said that it would be a short, it wouldn't need to be a full-blown investigation because you could use some past history.
That was on the district to the south.
See,
that's not to the district to the north.
That's confusion.
No, because
Ivan
was part of that. And Ivan, I remember him nodding his head. He said, "Yeah, we won't have it'll be an investigation, but we can use the same information that was used in you because you own land in both districts. The one we're talking about is the north one that day."
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's where he's mixed up.
He's been going back and forth between the
north
and
south because we did a a full-blown investigation of the facility to the south
in
'95.
'95
out of Lytton, yep. And that was when they were possibly thinking about running either an open ditch or something.
That's correct. Before I came on here, I was part of that.
So I don't know if that's where the confusion is becoming between that one and this one.
Well, see, and then we've in our meetings since we've asked about the progress of the work because I had been called, mm-hmm. and you guys had indicated that you had done some work on it, and that's what I forwarded. And now all of a sudden we haven't done any work on it.
Well, besides the basic investigation, I'm talking with Ivan. I thought there was some sort of communication with you guys and Alan about doing wetlands. Because that's gonna have to be determined, and they have to know what they wanna do, whether it's gonna be a private line, whether it's gonna be a district line.
But
parallel.
don't,
The wetlands determination has to come before you go through 95% of this.
well, the past experience that I've had is you guys make a best guess as to what you think is in there, and then at the hearing that we have with landowners, we have to direct them to get their wetlands determination, and then that's how it moves forward. And I think Mr. Albright has done all his. He knows he doesn't have any.
Okay, I thought, yeah, he had done his prior to most of the starting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Within the last
Yeah,
year.
because when Highway 20 thing went through, they did theirs, and they determined he didn't have anywhere the road was, and so then he says, well, I'll do it all, and then he did his,
Okay.
and he doesn't have any.
Okay.
The concern of any kind of wetland, I think Mary Helmbrecht might have some in that CRP where we dug.
Where we dug.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anybody else,
Yeah, and I don't know where that district, I know it falls towards that district to the south. I don't know where that exact dividing line is. So I don't know where there would be, except I know Helmbrecht's has some. And I know that district stretches to the north of U20, and I know there's one up there, a small one.
But you need, you identify part of the investigation, identify the property, notify the landowners.
Everybody in the district would.
To come to a hearing, and then.
So I guess we can set an informal date for this winter sometime.
and the reason this got to the front burner again is Mr. Albright called me again and asked what progress we were making.
Oh, okay.
And so then I said something to our clerk, Renee. She talked with Ivan, and there's been all kinds of confusion since that time. And part of it's because of the two different districts being right next to each other.
And I know Alan had concerns about both of them.
He
The north
did,
one
that's
and the south
correct.
one.
But this one, the north one is the front burner one.
Okay.
And I think, yeah, I mean, he's certainly expressed interest in working on both of them.
Mm-hmm.
The one closer to town, we did that repair,
Mm-hmm.
and that really hasn't been talked about since, as far as we know.
That's right.
Okay.
It's all been surrounding this north one.
Faster we could, move this forward.
Let's set an informal hearing then for the winter. You guys don't have to set it now, obviously.
He indicated, I just visited with him, I bumped into him in town here, and he indicated that he's going to be gone between December 15th and January 15th.
Okay.
And because he was the instigator of the petition, he would like to be there.
Okay.
So if we could do the end of January,
Yeah.
that might be okay.
Yeah, that should be sufficient. And we can get a rough acres of what's getting drained into this facility and what it would take to.
And I think identifying those, giving your best non-specific estimation of what wetlands are, and we have that informal meeting telling people this is what you have to deal with.
The wetlands determination would have to come from the landowners.
Well, when you do the formal one, but you guys can
We can come up with a rough
with an
idea.
estimate, yeah.
Or a rough idea of acres drained for this facility. As far as the wetlands, we can probably get to the NRCS and
And
come
do
up
that
with.
that wildlife
Yeah.
map.
Yeah.
But some of his showed up on that wildlife map, and it did not in the certified determination didn't come up.
Okay.
And so, in fact, I had in the piece closer to town, I had two of them done, and there was some identification, and it only ended up being half an acre, which ended up being out of the district for that one too.
Okay.
So, because it's on the duck and wildlife one doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be on the certified. But those two The two that I did were not included in the district that we are now talking about. So,
That would be the one to the south.
yeah,
So just for clarification,
Just-
you're talking about 2 and 51.
we're talking about the north one.
2 and
2 and
51.
51.
Okay. 'Cause I think even Renee calls us every.
I thought she did too. So there's just,
Yeah. So we can set that for
do very late
July, or
January. And I don't think, I mean, you don't have to do a great deal of investigation other than identifying acres drained, what you might think would be a ballpark idea of mitigation acres. And that, so that we can throw that out to them and they can decide how they want to go with
And
it.
we could, I don't know how, I'd have to talk with Ivan a little bit on how that works with that private line. I know Alan at one time had talked about running it east of N28, south, and then over. I don't know how that would work with the wetland.
And that's a very gray area. The other option that I visited with him about, in between right after we dug, you and I had the conversation, he still has the ability to go into that county main on the west side of N28, because he is not draining any wetland acres from that parcel. But if you route it outside of it, then you might have some consideration.
Yeah. I'll have that conversation with Ivan, because he can tap into that.
That would be, I mean, my personal thought about that, if you're draining his acres and staying out of, he has no wetland acres. Yeah, you might be, you would be taking some load off the current system, so they could argue that point. He wouldn't be draining wetland acres, but they are included in that watershed, which would be taking some water off the existing facility.
If he ran a private one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where I think a lot of that gray area.
If you went back into the existing tile system, they couldn't argue that point.
Yeah.
If you crossed the highway and went back into that tile. If you go out of it, then you'd have an argument.
Own outlet. And that, we'll have to do a little looking too, because that, if you're dumping back into the same watershed, is it actually taking water out of that watershed or not?
Well, you're not, but you're taking it off the tile that delivers it.
To that same district.
Right.
So, I'll have to look into that a little bit and see, try to come up with a few options. But I don't, do you have a calendar for the end of January?
Right here. If we could do it
Tuesday,
Tuesday,
the 25th or the 18th.
go for the 25th. 25th? Is that all right with you guys? Just tentatively.
You got a calendar right already?
Yeah.
Like a 1:30 or during the board meeting?
What's that?
Do you want to do it in the afternoon?
Yeah.
Oh,
1:30, 1 o'clock, 1:20.
okay.
1:30.
Yeah.
It'd be on Drainage District 2 and 51.
51, yeah.
Does your office want to contact Alan and say that we've tentatively set for January 25th?
Yeah, that'd be fine. And I don't know if it's just an informal meeting has to be sent to all newspaper publications or not.
Better ask.
So we'd still have, what is it, how many consecutive weeks has to run? We'd still have time either way.
I'm, with no action being taken, I don't think that you better ask it.
Yeah, that's the other thing,
It's just information.
so.
I do know he indicated that he's leaving by the 15th of December, so if you would...
Out of town this afternoon.
Okay, all right. Okay.
That'll work. Okay.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much.
calling.